Hey, this is Chester from the Old Deer Hunters. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit this morning about using a thermal scanner like this Pulsar Helion for big game hunting, and specifically in my case it's deer hunting. So the reason I have a big grin on my face this morning is because not only do I have a Pulsar Helion to hunt with, but here's the results. And this is the second one. So the reason I'm here this morning talking to you instead of deer hunting is because, hey, we're all tagged out. So I just wanted to pass on a little bit of information to you deer hunters out there about how one of these thermal monoculars, like a Helion, an Axion, any of the AMG thermal scanners, how they can really help you deer hunting. I started hunting with thermal optics, a couple of years ago. My the other half of the deer hunters is the Old Deer Hunters, is Doug Graham. Doug is a fantastic hunting buddy. He's my stepson, and we together we've had a lot of fun, and a lot of that started back deer hunting, and then Doug got into the thermal hunting at night for coyotes and hogs. And after I went with him a couple of times, I couldn't stand it. I had to get into it too. So the first last year I didn't have this Helion. Last year Doug loaned me actually a rifle scope. It was a FLIR 233. The PTS 233 is it's a plain Jane thermal scope. It's a great scope. It doesn't have any bells and whistles like this Helion does, but the results were basically the same. I took the scope off the rifle. We're not using these to hunt with at night. We're using them in the daytime. So when I go into my stand early in the morning, when it's still dark, we're trying to get to the stand. You never know if you're going to bump the deer out or what's going on, or if there's any deer around. The stand that I have where I was hunting over a big cutover area. We've got a tripod sitting up on a ridge, and we can see down the ridge and up the other side. And all the trees have been cut off, and the weeds have grown up to some of them 6, 8, 10 feet tall. But when you're looking from one ridge to another, you can see deer moving in there. So generally I'm just out there with a pair of binoculars. You're looking around and you're trying to find deer, but they're so camouflaged in there. It's really hard. It's really hard to see deer, even if they're not moving. If they're laying down, you're hardly ever going to see them. If they start moving, they'll move in in a clear spot, the feed, and you'll be able to see the deer with your binoculars. But with this thermal, when I get on my stand and it's still dark and the deer are comfortable and they're still moving around, and you can find all the deer right there. If there's a deer that's already laid down, he's all camouflaged in, which would make it very hard to see with binoculars or a rifle scope. I mean, he stands out like a sore thumb on this thermal. I mean, everything else is dark out there in the predawn before the sun warms everything up, and they stick out like a sore thumb. So you know where the deer are. So if later in the day the same thing happens with this buck, I was on my same old stand, my favorite stand out here now, since I've killed 2 10 points off of it. I got out there and sat there for anywhere like 3 o'clock. I sat there from 3 till 5:30. At 5:30, it's about sundown, so all that brush and everything, it's really hard to see in it. It's hard to find anything in the scope. So I decided, well, maybe I haven't seen a thing here all afternoon. Maybe I'll just get down, walk out to one of the food plots on the way back to the truck, and maybe there will be a deer in the food plot. I can see a lot better out there. But before I do that, one last time I'm going to scan with this thermal scanner across here to see if anything has changed, to see if a deer has, stood up out of this brush that I couldn't see before. And sure enough, I made that last scan right before dark, and there were 2 deer that had come up out of the bottom, and they were walking up toward the side of the hill. And with my binoculars or with my naked eye, I could not see a thing. In fact, after I found the deer in the thermal, I picked up my binoculars and I located them one beside an old snag. Then I picked up my rifle and I tried to find them through the scope. And it's about 150 yards out, and he's a lot of brush, a lot of blackberry vines, things like that. And it took me 2 or 3 minutes to find him, but when I found him, he was a nice one. He was a nice buck. And so I was able to locate the deer with a thermal, then find him in the scope 2 or 3 minutes later, and there was still enough daylight that I could identify him as a good buck, and I took the shot, and this is what I have now. So I just wanted to pass that along to you. If you're a deer hunter or a big game hunter, this thing it's great. I mean, you will see 10 times as many deer using a thermal scanner in the daytime, early in the morning and late in the evening, than you will with your binoculars or your rifle scope. It's not just in the cutover areas in the large fields. It also works in the woods. When the leaves start falling off the trees and you can see down through the trees, this will pick up anything that moves. I mean, you can see for 100 yards, depending on how thick the trees are, you can see anywhere from 100 to 200 yards through those trees. Now, it may be a squirrel, it may be a coyote, but what really stands out is deer are so large that when they're walking through the trees, they're also camouflaged. You can't really see them in those dark shadows. It's just one of those things that just blend in so well. With this, they're white. Everything else is dark. They're white in this. And yes, there are other things, that's going to show up in the scanner. Anything warm out there is going to show up on the scanner. The trees are going to be a little bit different color than the earth, the ground around it. Everything is temperature. Nothing is, it's not, light has nothing to do with it. It's totally temperature. These thermal scanners start now at, around $500. A good one for scanning out, a couple hundred yards is probably going to run anywhere from $12 to $1,800. But, my rifle's $1,000. My scope is $750. I got this ATV back here that just cost me 10 grand. Okay, none of that's going to help me find a buck or a deer as quickly as this will. And so it's really been a good deal with me. I got hooked up with Jason Robertson out at OutdoorLegacyGear.com, and Jason's just a great guy. And the way I found him on YouTube. And the reason I like him and I trusted him to buy my first thermal optic was because of all the information that he provides. He provides great reviews. Him and Hans ETX, who has a great YouTube channel for hunting, they provide you endless information every week on these new thermal optics. But if it had not been for this scanner, I would not be holding this deer antler today. So please subscribe to our channel, and also if you need any type of thermal equipment or night vision equipment, Jason out at OutdoorLegacyGear.com, and I'll put a link in the descriptions. He's the man to call. Thermal optics right now are in high demand and low supply, so you may have to wait. But it's better to get on the waiting list, or just do a pre-order for one of these things. Get it as soon as you can, and enjoy it. Don't wait till I did. Wait till you're 70 years old before you get one of these things. Get it now, especially if you're going big game hunting in the West, and you're out there and you're on a horse or on foot, and you're looking, from one mountain to another. This is it, bud. If it snows on the ground, and there's an animal out there, he'll stand out, you know, big time. So, but I want to thank you for watching. I want you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit outdoorlegacygear.com if you need any type of thermal optics. Jason Robertson's a great guy to work with. His customer service is top notch, and we appreciate you stopping by. Thank you.